This course is a fresh perspective on how to take current affairs for UPSC civil services. And today, this is one of the most indispensable thing you need, an asset you need for civil service examination. How to approach current affairs, how to approach newspapers, and how to integrate that in your preparation so that you can build over your basics and can have a 360-degree dynamic view of the entire syllabus together. See, for this course will be run by me, myself, Nimish Kapoor. I have, worked formally as an assistant commandant in CISF for 5 years, from 2014 to 2019. And ever since, I've been working with, I worked with over 100 students in mentorship program, have run online modules, but right now this is my first offline course, which I'll be starting current affairs. Last 25 years, as I've discussed with you earlier also, I have keenly followed current affairs. Last 10 years, I've keenly observed how UPSC is evolving from very straightforward approach in current affairs to very applied approach in current affairs. The objective of this discussion, we'll keep it to around an hour, and then we'll be taking up questions. Even the online students who've joined can ask the questions in the chat. So first of all, the major objective of this course, what I would take the, right, just a moment. Okay, so the pyramid approach, which I was discussing, is what our main objective of this course. I'll come to the deliverables, what we'll be providing, but what is this pyramid approach? We all read newspaper, make notes out of it, some do, some, but keep a tab of it, right? But that's not all. See, I tell you today, UPSC is looking for a personality. It's not just the personality test which says it. It is from where it starts. Today, you're expected to think like a civil servant. Why? When you'll go to Labasana for foundation course, irrespective of your service, it will be a teamwork exercise. No, your personality development, not to that level. Your basic course in any service will cater to the needs of that service. But personality is already groomed. This is what they expect you to show that in the final interview. Your pre-paper today is an objective paper, which is the questions today are subjective in nature. Your mains will check your point of view, your opinion, and clarity of your thoughts. It is not X or Y, what you believe in, but are there proper arguments you have on that particular opinion you have, right? Is it supported by facts, examples, data? That is very important today. So basic awareness of an issue is a starting point. If we see the step 1, that is, let's say, a very simple topic, Russia-Ukraine war, for example. You know that, okay, war is happening. What are the basic tenets, what it led to? Okay, NATO, Ukraine's wish to join it, and Russia's apprehensions. But there are huge dynamics arising out of that war in economy, in geopolitics, in environment, in trade. There are endless dimensions. How to understand that and bring that under one umbrella? That is a challenge today. You cannot just say, okay, I read today's article and I'm happy with it. But you have to think, you have to get into it, see the dimensions. And maybe on the contrary, you have to think like also an Indian diplomat thinking from this. For example, most of the news you're reading, 95% of time you're reading the criticism of Russia's attack on Ukraine. Maybe at a human aspect or your personal aspect, you believe in that. But is this the official standpoint? No. You need to understand why India is not totally, it is abstaining, as you're saying, from multiple platforms in directly criticizing Russia. You have to think like a diplomat. Answer also in mains should reflect that balance. So this is an exam where when you're writing a economy question, You should think that you are a chief economic advisor to the government of India, and your approach should be very balanced, clear, to the point, with right arguments. When you're writing a question on international relations, you should think that you are a diplomat representing your country, and every word has a weight in it, right? Every word, should reflect that I know, and I know where, till what limit I should write to. In interview also, you see how those who score more than those who's, even after saying that we've given good answers, get less marks. Is this the difference? That is where it lies. That is what I'm saying. You have to think like a civil servant from today when you're preparing, because you are expected to immediately take up responsibilities from day one. When you go, you won't say that this is my training period and I have all the leverage. No. So hence, this is what this course intends to do day one, that let us have a discussion oriented class and take it to that level where we have all the pointers around a particular topic, all dimensions of it. First, for that is basic awareness of an issue. That starts from a newspaper. Every day a newspaper comes to you. What you have to do, identify articles to be read. If you want to read, leisure read, it can go up to 3 hours, but I won't recommend that. A newspaper should be completed in an hour, but it's very important to identify keywords 5 to 10 every single day. What to read, what are those keywords, and go dig a little more. If you would, anyone would have followed the Telegram page, and where every day, every morning before 10 a.m., the news to be read and the requisite keywords which I'm sharing, you would find that in the last 4 months, the keywords I've shared, more than 50 questions related to those keywords have been asked in this pre. More than 50. And you can see it for your own self going on that page. So basic awareness is the starting point. Second is perspective development. Every day you're reading same news, a little progress happening. But what is happening simultaneously? You're understanding, settling down into an issue. There is a perspective development. It is still not at the level of opinion, but you are understanding. When I say opinion, I'll come to that. I mean that you are still not clear to articulate verbally or write it on the piece of paper. So second dimension is perspective development. And that happens when you read, reread, understand more dimensions. Let us say from a critic of government, let us say from the representative of the government. And you absorb everything gradually. This course will take you from that basic fact to that all the dimensions, base perspective, and then final. What really is important is opinion building. Opinion building is when you can articulate verbally or on the piece of paper with your arguments, facts, data. And you know that even if it is contrary to what majority is saying, I know that this is what I am very clear about. I tell you, most of the questions today in GS 2 and 3, what do you think? What is your viewpoint? Critically analyze. It doesn't say that you have to write one-dimensional answer. It says, what is your viewpoint on it? And when what is your viewpoint on it? It means that, are you clear what you're stating? Do you have supportive arguments of that? I tell you today, if anyone can express it verbally, they can write it on the piece of paper as well. But if you're not confident to express any issue verbally, you will struggle to write it on the piece of paper. And this is to check, where you are at on an issue. This is what I used to do to check. And I do with my students of mentorship program to see that where they are at. That means either you are stuck in step 1 or step 2, that we need to work more. So this would be the approach. Deliverables, I'll come more. And this pyramid, if you just keep it in your mind, you will know that where you are at with respect to a particular topic. Today, GS1 also, GS2, GS3, questions are not asked randomly. There is a reason why UPSC is asking a question. Nothing is out of context. If you have read newspapers thoroughly throughout the year, you'll understand and you'll smile while looking at question that you knew that it was coming. And after this slide, I'll talk to you about it, why. and I'm sharing this year's certain questions one by one of this year's prelims. First question, this was this question in this year's prelims. Many people struggled. We know IMF, but we might not have read about rapid financing instrument. Sri Lanka was so much in news. It's going through economic crisis. And this news is not, I think so, around 50 to 60 days old, where Ali Sabri, who is the finance minister today of Sri Lanka, asked, made a request for a rapid financing instrument. And this is, I've taken it from Indian Express. I've highlighted it, I've picked up, and when I've made it, I clearly, it is, I'm not saying that this is that you read Indian Express. What I'm saying is that Hindu or Indian Express, irrespective of newspaper, how important it is. And these kinds of keywords I'm writing every day for your reference to don't overlook it in that Telegram channel. I mentioned this word specifically in that keyword. So next, the answer clearly says that International Monetary Fund. One more, guesswork or how to approach such questions is with your relative understanding about all other organizations. If you know that it's a financing instrument and credit facility, whereas World Bank, Asian Development Bank, these are development banks. Usually financing and credit is not too much they come into. So smartly, if you analyze, you can eliminate such things. And UN Environment Program Finance Initiative, usually if you read, you have enough financing mechanisms you're aware of, GEF, you'll come into it. I think so. You are right now going into the basics part, right? You'll read about global environment facility or climate financing, other aspects of it, but never you would hear under UNEP rapid financing instrument. So smartly, if you have not even read the news, you could identify IMF as the answer, right? So this is another question which came in this year pre-Levant in news. First time when all of you would have heard it, I assume it would be ISIL, Islamic State, right, of Iraq and Levant was the first time when Islamic State word was used. It was also used as ISIL. Now that means that it is somewhere around Middle East, around Iraq, right? This is the, and again, an article from Indian Express I've picked up. And it tells that Levant is this region. Now, one thing is easily eliminated is entire coastal areas of Mediterranean Sea. Again, here, the map should be in your mind. This is again, I focus a lot in this program, I'll focus upon. Every week, you'll have around 5 to 10 places in news with maps in your PDFs or the material which will be provided to you. And how to read that map. And when I share keywords every day in that program, I mention a location every day, and I tell students to Google that location and see everything around it. So one thing, easily you can eliminate option D. And if you see these countries, these are the region along the Eastern Mediterranean shores. So this is Levant. Again, your knowledge of, so observation is one more thing which UPSC keenly looks into. Do you easily overlook things? Don't easily assume that this is not important or this I know. Map, whenever a particular place comes, immediately that map should be in your mind. If it is not coming, Google it and see. This is your daily routine. And how much time it takes? 5 to 10 seconds of Google search and 20 to 30 seconds of just viewing around. That is what investment can take you. This year, 5 to 6 questions on location. Just see the importance and how current affairs can lead you to a location, can lead you to a how to look at the map and what is your reference point. You cannot endlessly, today time has gone where you pick up an Oxford or an Orient Black Swan, in this market, everyone will tell you, get these two compulsory. Okay, good to have. But that is not all. That is not up. You cannot just pick up and start turning the pages and start learning it. That is not a good way to learn. When you come across a location, international as well as national location in the country or in the newspaper, go on web, Google the image, see the physical and political map of that area. Immediately things will become much more, because you have a reference point. And that is very important connection, and that I will be covering every week, 5 to 10, which are important in this course. I'll be discussing it in the class subsequently. Tomorrow and day after, I'm having 2 more sessions where we'll be discussing such locations which have been covered first week of June. Again, pretty tough question for those who've not heard this, but again, this was a reference directly from an article in Indian Express which I picked, and it's an article of October or November 2021. So not around just 6-7 months old article. That is why every day's newspaper is important. Don't say ki I am reading 6 days. One day I just skip it because I don't feel like. That one day, that one question can go a long way in deciding are you sitting for mains or not. 365 days, newspaper is indispensable. It'll shape your personality. You're not doing, it's not, don't take it for preparation of UPSC. It's, you are polishing your personality by reading newspaper and getting different perspectives. Ultimately, it will fetch you what you really require. Hence, that is why I want to discuss the importance of newspaper and how we will be covering it. So climate action tracker, if you read, it clearly says what it is, a database created by coalition of research organizations. If you see, research coalition said that the promises by countries, so it is written, see, it is a research coalition option. If you just read it carefully, you'll know what it is. Free and open source software has great potential in government, and this is in another article in Indian Express. Which of the following are the open source digital platforms? Many technical background, most of you engineers would be knowing what is open source, but still, you should be aware that which are the government portals which are open source. Article very nicely discussed about it. Here, elimination method will also come into play. Easily you can understand COVID and Arogya Setu. When it happened, government also repeatedly in news said that we are providing it as it is an open source code so that people can use for their multiple benefits. So 1 and 2, if you eliminate, if you identify, B and C are eliminated. So with your little bit more knowledge, like reading this article, you can do it correctly. To be very honest, I didn't find this year's paper too tough. Only for those who have read current affairs nicely and applied them. Reading is one thing, but applying them is very important. Air quality, new WHO norms, now almost entire. This in my crash course also, I had given that graph, and I said that this year, UPSC 2021 mains, same question asked by UPSC. Again, in pre this year, they've asked this question. That was more elaborated. Of course, you have to write in detail. Here, they asked a specific point. And it had come in September 2021, these guidelines by WHO. So what I'm saying is, though UPSC never checks that, okay, this is your limit of news, you should know 1 year. But most of the questions which will be influenced will be around 6 to 12 months period, mostly. It does not, I'm not saying that you don't have knowledge about something happened 18 months ago. We will be taking everything holistically. If I'm talking about Taliban taking control over Afghanistan, we might have to go back to Afghanistan independence 1919, then 1979 Soviet invasion, then Mujahid fighting with the help of Pakistan and CIA, then 92 to 96 Afghanistan civil war, and then Taliban emerging as a victorious party, and 96 to 2001 ruling, then Al-Qaeda being sheltered by Taliban, and eventually US forces coming into Afghanistan and waging a war against terrorism. For 20 years they did that, and then they left, and again Taliban. We might have to go in the background. We might have to go, this is what course I'm telling you. That is where interest will come. In isolation, those who started newspaper reading now, right now, you might be lost somewhere in the middle. But we need to get firm ground from where everything happened. That will really give you a third eye view of issue happening. And that is what this course will also discuss. Going into the backgrounder where required, going to the basics. If I'm talking about monetary policy, I'll be talking about monetary policy framework. What are the tools with the RBI? What are those tools? Everything. You might read it in your GS once more, good enough. But I'll not be just stating the facts here. It will be absolute basic, building over that and relating with everything around. Hence, it's a 1-year program, and it will, start for you to initially, it might be a little challenge, but eventually you'll see everything coming together. What you're reading in your GS will only, you'll find it more interesting and easier once you are having a very good track of current affairs. A balance between two is very important today. Very, very important. So this is again one of the direct questions which I had also discussed in my crash course, as well as newspaper, as you see, Blue Find Mahsir out of IUCN red list. Again, around 3 to 4 months old article, Indian Express. Question, easy question, which of the following is not a bird? Golden Mahsir. In our efforts to be green, we must not greenwash. Again, an Indian Express article I picked up. Greenwash, very easy concept. Again, 2 to 3 times I too have read in last 1 year in Hindu as well as Indian Express. Conveying a false impression that a company's products are eco-friendly and environmentally sound. These are things which you come across which you might overlook. So please don't overlook. So this is why I'm specifically picked up this year's question, because they are right now in your memory and you will take reference of these questions for your next year prelims. You'll be coming back to it because you know that from where and how they have been influenced, right? I'll discuss more and then I'll come to the deliverables as well. SRI, system of rice intensification, method of sowing paddy. Article came, everything they had told, what it reduced seed requirement, all are correct. See, I had one student who said that there were 2 questions together. One is which of the following crops has a lot of methane and nitrous oxide potential, right? Answer for that also is rice. And one of my students assumed that since 2 rice questions cannot come together, why do you assume? Two rice questions have come, so I thought that that must not be rice because the rice is also asked in this. Yeah. Usually, see, methane is heavy where the standing water is there. So rice is where the crops which have maximum irrigational potential will have more methane and nitrous oxide. So sugarcane was second in that. The sugarcane also few were there, but rice, as you know, are need more standing water in their initial 2 to 3 months. So that is where rice was the right answer there. Okay. Again, unique digital health ID, very easy question. Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission. See, such questions, these things we'll discuss holistically. There are also ways which I'll tell you during the course how to, even if you've not read, to pick certain things should raise your eyebrows. Must. 90% of time when extreme words are used in an option, they are incorrect. 90%. I'm not again saying that 100%. They should raise your eyebrows. 1, incorrect. So 1 is incorrect. B, 3 is the answer. So such are the ways you can, I'll discuss during the course as well, how to look into such things. Right. So if China tested a new orbital weapon, it's not much of a surprise. And in that, I've read for fractional orbital bombardment system, or FOBS. Even if you've not read this article, hypersonic missile was recently tested by China, which US claimed that it had passed over their territory. Russia is also tested. These are just in the weapons formation as of now. 1. India has also tested hypersonic, not missile, but the system in a that which use your one of the technology which is I forgot the exact word. I'll come to back to it. It is, if you understand that, A option is easily eliminated. Hypersonic missile is launched into space to counter. As of now, no such experiment has ever been done. A hypersonic missile. Yes, missiles have been launched, but hypersonic, as I told, Russia, China, and USA, they are working on the technology where China is said to have already made a weapon, but till now, no. So one is easily eliminated. And here answer was C actually. A spacecraft lands on another planet after making several orbital motions. Till now means if you read current affairs, again, the way we read it, you'll easily get to know that this is not happening. Right now, only the Mars is the planet where missions are going, right? We have Perseverance and we have also Chinese rover right now. Or moon, though we won't say separate planet. So these are the ways, multiple things we'll be working on regularly. And one of the deliverables of this course is every month, like for June, first week of July, we'll have an entire MCQ test based on last month current affairs. So 100 full-fledged test. After every single class, 2 questions will be given, answer writing. If you write those in 24 hours, I'll be personally checking it and giving you a review. Third, I will be personally guiding you. Means if there is your approach, you're struggling, personal mentorship. Talking to me, I'll be guiding you how to approach. And it will be personalized in nature. If you have a different approach, it is not one fit all. I've worked a lot with my mentees, as I told, over 120 students I've worked. And I know that for everyone, I customize their approach. So customization, what you need might be different from what other needs, right? What someone else needs. So this is also a close-knit batch, but a fully conversational, two-way discussion and pursuing towards excellence is what we will be working for. Sitting in the class of 500 and just taking that notes and that notes being distributed across, that will be like one-dimensional. We need to be one step, every day challenging ourselves, how we can improve from yesterday. What inside, if I'm struggling, I know that I have someone to talk to. If I'm struggling in current affairs, I know that I have interest is not building, or I cannot relate things. I'm not able to express it on the piece of paper, which I know, but I'm not able to write. How to overcome those difficulties? You know that there is someone who will guide you and check you and will push you to that limit where you'll overcome those difficulties. So these are the things I'll be working upon. 2 or 3 more questions, and I'll also talk about the course more in detail. Again, this is an easy question. Everyone, when they saw Serum Institute Covishield, okay, very happy, right? They didn't go to mRNA. Easy, because when initially the 3 vaccines were developed globally, initially, or 4, 2 in India and 2 globally, Pfizer, Moderna, one was in India, Covishield and Covaxin, okay? Covishield, so only 2 were mRNA globally, which were Pfizer and Moderna, and Covishield was not. It's a vector, adenovirus vector platform based vaccine. So this was incorrect immediately. If this is incorrect, I don't need to look here. This is incorrect, this is incorrect, this is incorrect. This is the answer. 2 marks today when 85 is the cutoff makes a lot of difference. And here we have to fight for every point marks, in decimals. And these are ways we can easily identify, not taking things like, not getting too excited in paper. So one of the things which I work with my students is also reading the questions and words properly. Many times when it would be written not correct, I have made those mistakes. I'm here to share with you the mistakes I've also committed. It has cost me once that means seat. 2 questions like that which I knew but not seen. So little things, but how to go about it, we'll be discussing. What the rise of pan-Turkic? Again, a very interesting question. People saw Organization of Turkic States. They said, okay, we've not heard of it. Let's leave it. Most of my students did that, and I was terribly disappointed. Why? 1.5 years ago, there was a dispute, Armenia-Azerbaijan war, if you've heard. still going on, but Russia interfered, mediated. There was a region called Nagorno-Karabakh region, which was a world recognized as a part of Azerbaijan, and it was controlled by Armenia. War happened for that region again 1.5 to 2 years ago. And Armenia, which is a mainly Christian country, fought with Azerbaijan, which is a predominantly Muslim country. Armenia has close relationships with Russia. Azerbaijan has a close relationship with Turkey. And if you've seen a documentary, which I shared with all my students about this war, 8 to 9 minutes documentary, it clearly stated that Turkey supported Azerbaijan with weapons. So first two options, Armenia will not be part of a Turkey alliance. It's a Christian country. It has fought war where it has been supported. Its rival has been supported by Turkey. One is wrong. C and D. Two, Azerbaijan. Of course, if it has been supported by Turkey, it is a part of that alliance. Two, answer is C, 2 and 5. So not knowing agency also, organization, but still knowing international relations, knowing the the dimensions of this is a smart approach. This again goes a long way. And tell you, using these kind of approaches, many of my students are able to clear the threshold, which I personally feel is a threshold. And there will be questions like 5 to 10 like this. So it's 10 to 20 marks easy. So when you're around 70, 75, you know this importance of such questions. And I tell you, pre is the toughest, mains is not at all tough. We'll be working in an integrated approach, pre-cum mains, that is there. But today, don't take that pre is separate, altogether separate strategy, and mains is separate. No. Today, pre is packaged in a way where it is becoming more and more subjective in nature. Hence, there has to be no different approach for both pre and mains. Of course, there are some topics which are specifically for mains, which might not be asked in pre. That we understand. But just see the understanding of one event, global event, and what are the connections geopolitically. I can do this question. T cells, B cells. Even yesterday, I was reading an article in the Indian Express or the Hindu. Again, a reference was there to T cells. A lot of reference during COVID was there to the T cells and B cells. It is just one article, around 10 to 15 articles. At least I have read which had reference to this. Hence, D answer was there, pathogens, right? Gucci mushrooms. This article I've picked from. Now, one more thing. There is a page called live page, open pages, right? Don't take those lightly also. It's very good for essay. It just gives you a different perspective of writing. You're little like on education, you'll find some good open article. This actually is from open page 6 months ago. This, and they've picked it up. And I actually had seen a documentary on it 3 to 4 times in last 10 years, Gucci mushrooms. And I had this image of a lady collecting on the slope on upper Himalayas for that, and they are very scarcely, it is not cultivated commercially. So it is not commercially cultivated. So this was eliminated. So this and this won't be the answer. So 2, it grows in some. Now this is disputed. Why disputed? It is also found in the areas where there are no forests also. And I assume that they are also growing in the upper forests regions also, somewhere in between. So I don't know how UPSC will take it. So it can be 1 only also, C also. I'm not very sure about it, because if you see the answer keys, this thing you might have got to know till now, that the best answer keys in the market will also have difference of 5 to 6 questions. So I won't guess, but this is very easy question, Gucci. And thing is, they just mentioned Gucci. They didn't mention mushroom. And when they had mentioned mushroom, that means it was a fungus. This is very smart of them. So UPSC will play with you. So you have to be smart. It is not something inherent. It is something we will work upon daily basis when we challenge ourselves. Until we go in a very conventional way, that read these books and read a newspaper, make your basic notes, and questions will come directly of notes. That's not the way. A little bit effort will be putting together. And why I'm saying I'll post just 2 questions every week, that will tell me enough that where you are at. I'll know every one of you will be writing it, and when I'll be checking where you need to work. And when you'll be connecting with me every week or 10 days on call, I know that this is where you're making mistakes. These are the areas you need to work. And those 2 questions will tell me what you need to do in those 20 questions which you'll be giving. Of course, I'll be having every 2 months a full current affairs GS-based test. That also I'll be having in this course. But every week you'll be writing 2 answers. That will help you kickstart your answer writing also, unless you join a full-fledged one. So importance of, I tell you, current affairs, these are just minimum. I'm not seen all the questions and picked up. I tell you at least 50 to 60 have been influenced by current affairs this year. So now we ran a crash course where we had to cover 200, but I ended up covering 170 only. So out of these are 37 topics of current affairs, which I covered in 1 page each. Very simple, just your infographic I shared. And if you see the topics, which 6 questions were asked this year. Topic number 7, quantum computing, where qubits was I had referred to. Question came directly. 12, bio-rock technique, direct question came. Then you have 18, NFT, question directly came. You have 26, Ayushman Bharat digital mission, question directly came. Types of vaccines, where I had mentioned Covishield, what type of vaccine, and mRNA, which are the vaccines. In that graph, it was there. Web 3.0. And these are direct I'm talking. There might be some topics which are indirectly related, but I have not counted those which had directly. So the crash course I ran was a material only which you could complete in 5 to 6 hours. Because why I'm sharing this is not that I'm saying that this content is the best. I'm saying that we have the ability to understand and recognize what we really need to focus upon. To identifying, limiting our topics to those areas where we know if we put effort, we are surely to get a very good return. Rather than endlessly going through all the stuff, if we are sure that if we put effort in these topics, go a little extra mile, you know that 2025 and then plus your static and basic, surely you're through to pre easily. This 4 questions directly, species and news also. One question had come globe. This Messir also had mentioned specifically in one of that. Then we have a question on. So I'll talk about the Miyawaki forest. So there is one more. So total 4 I have counted. So 4 questions have come directly. 2, as I said, species and news directly had come. So these are the topics also we covered in that. And similarly in geography and international relations. So total, as I told, 20 plus questions, around 25 have come. What you should expect from the course, and it's very important, you have expectations. If you would invest, you're not just investing your time, your money, you're investing your vision. You're believing in someone. And I've worked very closely with students in the last 3 years, and I know that each one of us needs special attention. And for you, when every student in this classroom, I need to make sure that you are here to get a rank, not to pass time. For every person, I'll be making equal effort. And to make sure that you get a rank first time. This paper is becoming more and more complex. That is why the number of students who are giving multiple attempts, they are clearing. But every one of you is first attempt, right? Many of you are joining online are also first attempt. And I tell you, this is where you have to believe that, don't think that 2 years, 3 years, I'll understand. If we put optimum effort, and if we, follow diligently how we go about in class, I tell you, you will find drastic change in your orientation, your way you perceive current affairs. You'll be so excited going back, going a little extra research, asking questions in classroom. just, this platform is very important for us. Not even if there is no connection, I openly tell you to ask questions. Why there is no connection, I'll talk about it. Why there is connection, you might create that option, connection between two things, and it will just help you in the confidence building. It's today, there is no perfect answer key or the perfect answer. We all have to come to that, reach that. We are all striving. There is nothing called perfect, but our, we have to be diligent. We have to put in efforts to reach that stage, right? So the main is hands-on approach with current affairs. Hands-on mean that it's not just reading, but just being so comfortable how to connect with economy. There was a question, very easy question this year, that when the inflation is high, which of the following steps will the RBI take? Or which of the following statements are correct? Number one statement was, when the inflation is high, RBI buys government securities. Here, so firstly, how it is related with current affairs. Every day you're reading, inflation is increased, CPI, retail, core inflation, food inflation, many dimensions of it, right? Okay, RBI is taking off-cycle meeting. It raised 40 basis points for repo rate. Recently, 50 basis point. Now 4.90. That will, what it will do? It will, so the lending will eventually become more expensive. People will be reluctant to take loans. That would, so the people who had planned to buy houses or let's say invest in the business might get discouraged. It would eventually lessen the money in the hands of people. Less money, less demand, and ultimately demand and supply, eventually when they'll come, it will finally result in controlling inflation. Okay. When COVID happened, there was a lot of news that, how, see, private spending had stopped altogether, right? So what RBI did was, it was buying government securities so that public spending could increase. CAPEX is the word you had come across a lot, capital expenditure of the government. Because RBI was buying, so it is not a direct monetization of deficit, but indirect monetization of deficit of government. I'll talk to that someday. But if that means that if RBI buys government securities, it is actually increasing the money supply. So that was clearly a wrong option. If that option was eliminated, you wouldn't have required to look at option 2 or 3. Eliminated, and there was one option left. These are the ways how current affairs relating every day with your core basics, building over that, touching the dimensions. There was a very good question on Vietnam. Nothing to do with your notes. In your geography also, you will not separately read about Vietnam. In your current affairs though, you might read, like 2-3 days ago, Rajnath Singh is in Vietnam, okay? Or Vietnam as a very important supply chain now area, or very big exporter of textiles. You might have also seen some of the clothes made in Vietnam. One thing you're sure, firstly, you're hearing across news, it is the rising economy, export oriented, which was one of the options, correct? There was one, so export oriented and one of the rising. Only these two options, that is 1 and 3. If you know, then 2, 4, 5, 6, and 7. These were other options. You wouldn't have to look at that. One of which was Vietnam is a multi-party system. You might not have to know about that. But what I'm telling you is that just your observation and keenness in going through news. So these are where when I'll be talking location in news, I might also be talking about their political, their economic standings. This is where the connection came up this year. Location and why it was in news. It is not just location. It's not just asking about the geography of it, but what is the connection? Why it was like there was a news, some African countries, why they were in news. So these are the ways we'll be touching even the locations. When I talk about, let's say, Cambodia, what kind of economy is Cambodia? Why? What is it famous for? Recently today in the newspaper, I read that Kiren Rijiju is taking a team to give some Buddha relics to Cambodia. How we can connect, like go into Cambodia, see the on map like this, we'll have an interactive discussion about it. So this is where it is very interesting today to give civil services, but you just have to be open. Firm fundamentals are required, but they are not just. I've known people who've read current affairs 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times over. Sorry, this static part, 10 times revision, couldn't clear pre. I have people who have done one read, but very good fundamentals of current affairs, cleared pre. Why is it so? So it's not just about, okay, revising is very important, but it's equally important to be well aware, apply ourselves continuously. So one weekly handout, as I was saying, one weekly handout will be given to you every week, where around 20 topics will be covered. 15 will be the main topics which will be covered in detail, where I'll be drawing the mind maps of it, touching all the dimensions 360-degree holistically. We'll be taking up questions if there will be doubts. Then there'll be questions, news and shorts. So today, UPSC is also asking a little bit fact, sometimes 2 to 3 questions. So be well aware about the topics which we are not required to be dealt in detail, but in short. Then location in news, species in news, right? We will be dealing every week for the preceding week. Real-time basis, what you're reading now, you don't have to wait 45 days for a magazine to come out to, what you read 45 days in newspaper. And I tell you, magazines, at the end of the month, so weekly handout will be there. After that 4 weeks, there'll be a full monthly compilation also. So that there is no, you don't have to keep multiple things together. Then June, July, August, you have questions with it, 8 questions, GS, and you have 1 test, checking everything, right? So weekly handout, regular answer writing, as I told you earlier. As soon as I'll check those 2 questions a week, I know, are you progressing or not, where you are stuck. And I've checked hundreds of copies of students who've cleared civil services also, and who've been struggling. And I've worked with students to improve their main score. And this year, there's a girl who got selected 55. Last year she couldn't clear mains. So we improved GS 1, 2, 3 score by 55 to 60 marks on working on the subtle things. So that is also when I'll be having a personal interaction with each of you. That is where I'll know that what I would be, where you require a little more effort, what you really need to parallelly look into, where I can help you further. And what is your expectation of me to provide further help? We are open class, will be open class, will not be reluctant. What you need, you ask. We'll provide, we'll put in full effort, a lot of research, and personal attention will be given. Monthly full current affairs MCQ test, as I told you. But the first week of July, we'll have like June test. Similarly, subsequent months. Personalized guidance mentorship, as I told, I'll be there. So it won't be delegated to someone. I'll be there, who's someone who's teaching, who's creating content, who's checking papers, and who will be guiding directly. He knows your journey. In class, how much attentive you are. What are the kind of questions? What is the quality of your answers? Where you need it, it won't be public. It will be personalized. I won't say that, okay, you're lacking here or this, not in the public sphere, so that I don't want any kind of, they'll feel that publicly they'll address me. Personally, I'll be available to work on you. And I firmly believe in one thing, that never give up on a student, and I won't, because I've seen transformations. Transformations when I started working with students, and a year later, you feel that it's a totally different personality. And as I told you, this is a personality exam. We'll be working on all the dimensions. And when you will be very well acquainted with the current affairs and the dimensions, come what may, you'll be standing anywhere, you'll be speaking out. You'll be publicly, someone will be speaking, you'll join them in the discussion. And the amount of confidence it gives, I can't tell you. You know, even the short talks, that is what the personality is. When you'll be sitting in front of the board, they'll be looking at the real you. They don't want any kind of a mask in front, and they'll easily detect within minutes that you're preparing for what you're not, or you're trying to present what you are. And if you ask anyone, 90% of personality test scores, they'll agree, yeah, we agree, this is fine, because we know where we are. So monthly full CA test, personalized guidance and two things, what I expect is to tread path together. We are not separate, we'll be working together. And to the top of the pyramid I discussed, where we feel that you are ready to stand up and talk to me, and we'll have discussion together, or with anyone. If you're able to articulate your opinions, you can write it on the piece of paper. And one word which I made around 7-8 years ago is original thinking. And this is a very important aspect. I'll define it, what I mean by it. I had a batchmate in CISF. We were giving mains exam together, and I still remember 3 to 4 questions I had not read about, but I wrote very good answers on it. And he came to it that you've not read, how come you wrote? I said, at least I knew the circumstances around it. I was well aware about the situation around it. So I could assume that this could be the possible reasons. The course will empower that original thinking. Means that if 99% are not writing that point, but what you've written, because of your relative knowledge around, I'll give you a brief example what I mean. Coal crisis in India, let's say. Everywhere you'll read about supply chain issues, demand of cement, steel industry, and power plants, right? Nobody talks about the structural issues on ground so if you know, Coal India Limited is the monopoly. And it is further has subsidiaries like Southeastern Coalfield Limited, Northern Coalfield Limited, Central Coalfield Limited. And I, during my duty, have visited around almost all of these coalfields. And I tell you, there is also a Naxal point here. There's also a mafia point here. There is also a lot of gross corruption also here. There is lack of inefficiency, lack of vision. Many things come into play which are never reflected in answers because they are very generic in nature. You have to rise above generic, and that is where the original thinking will come. When we'll discuss things, you'll assume, okay, this is what we've come to, that it could be the possible reason. That is what the best thinkers do when they write articles, right? They create points. And you think this is correct. Why can't you? If you've read so much, you're doing almost a research. The entire year, you're going to spend around 12-13 hours studying all the dimensions of things important for India. Why can't you think on your own? This is what I want to empower you with original thinking. All 80 questions in GS 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll attempt it. If you attempt 1,000, I assure you that you are getting above average. And this is what I believed in. When I wrote mains, I knew that I am writing everything, irrespective, even if I don't know, I know that I'll come to something around it. Like, for example, this was a question on a government of India scheme, mains question. Exactly the name of scheme I forgot. It was a skill development scheme. It is a 2012 scheme. Last 10 years, there's no talk about it. Someone told me, how do we write about it? I said, write the general features of any skill development scheme. You'll get 2 or 3 marks or something, rather than leaving. When the fight ultimately today is of how to get an extra half to 1 mark per question in mains. When 1 mark per question, that means 80 marks extra in your GS. Half mark is 40 marks extra. And that general answers won't give that edge. What you can bring on the table, what you can provide, something which examiner should feel, yeah, this person knows. And I tell you, it does leave an impact, a huge impact. And today, GS will give, yes, everyone says optional will give you rank, agreed. But if you're scoring 270, 280 there, but if you're not scoring above average in GS, still you will not get rank. So GS is extremely important to get you in top 100, top 10. Every one of you sitting here has to have a vision of rank 1. And don't think of each other as a competition you have to cut off, but support each other. That way you'll feel that you'll get more empowered. There are enough seats for all of you. And I tell you, even if there are 100 students right now, there are this year 1031 seats will be there. Though advertised 1011, Indian Railway Police Force Services has not been declared till now. So around 1030 seats. Of course, from next year, you'll have a little decrease, around 900, 950, what I assume. But enough seats for all of you, just need one. If you've done it correctly, you don't need to look at competition around. You don't need to look how many people are there in old Rajinder Nagar. If you're doing it right, you'll clear it. The last is our pursuit is for excellence. This is what you should expect. Not mediocrity, not every time we keep pushing ourselves. You push me, I'll push you. But it will drastically change the overall performance. You would see it for yourself. So our pursuit is for excellence. We won't compromise with anything less. What you should not expect from this course. So as I told, it is one-stop solution, yes, but will not just be limited to classroom. Classroom will start that chain, but there will be personalized guidance, answer writing, tests, and one-on-one mentorship. It will, and there will be a group where content will be shared further for further 5 to 10 minute video. It won't take much of your time of day, but can give a brilliant dimension to what you're already studying. It is a one-stop solution to start with, but is not limited to class. It is not a GS program, but will augment your GS performance. It's a current affairs program which will affect your science and tech, your economy, your environment, your geography, your polity, your governance, your international relations, your internal security, disaster management. You never know, even history. Because you might know that this is something repeatedly being talked about in news. Maybe I need to give a little more attention. Every part of a GS 1, 2, 3 and ethics as well. Why? A lot of case studies comes in the newspaper, which we tend to ignore. I'll be taking up some case studies like that as well. And also sharing my own, that there's something called ideal situation, which we all tend to do. If you would have seen the trend, all of you, that civil servants improve their rank when they give, right? Why they get selected repeatedly, and especially do well in GS4? Because practicality is different thing, ideal is different thing. We all tend to have this ideal approach. Okay, if you're a district magistrate of the state and there's a disaster management issue in your, what will you do? Someone, I checked an answer, someone wrote, I will direct NDRF to come. You're a district magistrate. First of all, one of the very important things when you're on field, you recognize is that there is limitation to your power also. There is a lot of responsibility and power, but there is also limitation to that power. There are processes on ground. You cannot direct. You might request your disaster management secretary, possibly your chief secretary of the state, or your departmental secretary, whom particularly this issue is related to request NDRF to come immediately. Words makes a lot of difference. Suddenly 2 marks minus. This happens. People who will give you the field, the view of how actually things work. They want solution. When I was there, I see that authorities need solution. Irrespective, of course, you're not going into corruption and malpractices, that is separate. But you might have to tweak a little, go a little off the path and then come back. Because law and order has to be maintained. Public expenditure, money has to be saved. At the end, you're working for service of people. Everything possible has to be reflected in that your case study. So that also aspect we'll be discussing gradually. Sometimes every week, once little case study. I'll take your views and I'll give my view. It'll help build upon how to take things. It is not a note making class, but a discussion oriented class. So handouts will be given. A little notes, one thing or the other you can write, but you don't have to. I'll not dictate and you'll not write. We'll interact like this. I want questions, and that is the best form of learning. If you go to the best B schools, there are discussion oriented classes, case study based classes. That is how the learning is today promoted. And I tell you, sooner or later, UPSC will come to this, there'll be reforms in 3 to 4 years, and you might see some drastic changes, which already government is thinking upon. So what I'm telling you is that those who are more in discussion oriented, applying themselves, questioning, and then accordingly molding their mindset is very important. And one more thing, there might be times when you have to unlearn and relearn. You might be stuck into some ways of things. Today you have to be dynamic, smart. When I say, integrate technology in your preparation. Not only dependent on technology, but use technology to augment your scores. I'll come to that when I'll discuss about, I'll take classes. What I expect from you. I expect effort. Just whatever, I am not saying that you have to go out of the way, leave your rest of studies. Just 1 week, 3.5 hour class, every day, half an hour to 1 hour input in other than newspaper. It is more than enough. It is not extraordinary. And effort is what I'm looking for, but that passion, that craziness, that proactiveness. Proactive is a word when I have, used 2021 and 2022 I saw, and the first word came to me is UPS is looking for proactive personality. Someone who's ready to dig a little more. Perseverance. Results won't show overnight. This is UPSC. Take time to absorb. 1 month, you'll improve. Yes, you'll see something. 2 months, 3 months, 5 months, 6 months. Steady improvement is there. Score, if you start answer writing, score can go 80 to 85 in 2 months. 85 to 90 in another 3 months. Perseverance is very important. To stick to it. 1 mark, I know at least I'm improving, but I'm doing my effort and keep giving my effort. Discipline. So I come from a background of uniform service, and discipline is something which I firmly believe in. Is that when you have a structure in your, and I'll be working with you also on that, creating structure in your study, planning your days in a way that when there is a discipline in preparation, this time class, like you have philosophy class, when to study philosophy, when to study your basic subjects, when to attend GS class, and when to study current affairs and newspaper. That balance is very important. So discipline in your routine is very important. 6 days a week, okay, 2 hours, 3 hours on weekend, take out time, no issue, but has to be structural. 6 days means 6 days I'm working. If I have 3 to 4 hours or my leisure time in weekend, Sunday, go for that, no issue. But discipline is important. To speak up, I expect you to speak up. I expect you to interact and ask questions. I'll not directly ask questions if you're not, so it has to be two-way discussion. It will not be one direction. That is the difference. 500 to 600 students, I have also been in that classroom, though I've not done coaching, but I remember giving a test series somewhere in an institute where I was attending a discussion class where I had to see the teacher through a screen. How would you ask a question there? But question is very important. When we go with that doubt back, we'll feel down and will not be proactive. But when you ask, and I'll answer in a way that there'll be a spark, you want to go back and create the fire. You will search, you'll do your work. So interactive sessions are very important. To keep challenging me own self, that is something I believe. And most importantly, believe in yourself. I've seen people believing in themselves and transforming altogether. I know a person, if I don't know if you know the story or not, I know that person who didn't clear SSC 4 times. Someone told him to give civil services. He laughed off first time, and then he said, okay, I'll give my best. And the first attempt, he got 17th rank. So, and there are people who've, okay, struggled not clearing, but the belief they never lost. Every day, when you're not getting the score what you want, Don't leave. Don't think that you have lost it. There is nothing called loss or win in this. It's all about improving your own self. You, people around you are not competition. They are your fellow learners. They're all trying to improve. If you have this positive attitude, you all will learn in a very beautiful way. There will be no stress, but we'll be learning. The environment will be such where we'll create an optimum in learning space where there will be interaction, where there will be question and answer. I might not have answer to each and every question, but I'll surely assure you that I'll be answering to each and every query. There's an online platform. So now one very important thing, the PDFs will be uploaded after the session online. You will be given access to that. Lectures will be recorded. So anytime you can go back to lectures. There will be a discussion platform where you can post your answers also, ask any question. Within 24 hours, it will be answered if there is no class in upcoming 3-4 days. So it is a real-time, program. Though classes will be once a week, connectivity will be 365 days into 24 hours. This I assure you. So I want to close this session on one quote which I really believe in and something which has influenced me a lot. A person is not limited by his or her potential, but by his or her thought. इंसान अपनी सोच से सीमित है, ना कि अपनी काबिलियत से. ये, I also come from a small town. You just need one bit of success and you'll feel, that I couldn't believe it, I could do this. And suddenly your confidence will change. You have to believe that if you're limiting yourself, if you're thinking I'll get a rank, I'm happy. Don't do this. Strive for rank 1. If you think you can get rank 1, you will get. Ultimately, all the faculties will come together and push you in that direction. I tell you, I was doing a commando course somewhere and I'd never run 30 kilometers with 15 kg bag. And I thought, this is impossible. I can never do it. When I completed 30 kilometers and this thing, came to my mind that how much injustice are we doing to ourselves, limiting our own selves? We should keep striving for the best every single day, because you're much more capable than what you're thinking right now. And this is what this course will try to do, strive for and work for, to come up, excellence is the word I've used, to strive for excellence in each one of you, to personally working with each one of you. So now with this quote, I'll keep the house open for questions and discussions. And if there's any question, please ask. So duration, I'll tell you. So this is a running course. Current affairs does not need a, so this is a running course. It has already started. So every week, one class. We have 2 plans right now, 1 year and 6 months. If someone feels I just need 6 months, because there are students who are preparing for mains also and wants to polish their for current affairs for interview, they also can, so 6 months, 12 months. So 12 months, 1 class every week, 3.5 to 4 hours, and in which you will be provided with material, personal guidance, answer writing, MCQ test, and anything, any doubt whatsoever, that will be taken care of. So 1 year program is for 18,999 and the 6 months program is for 9,999. Yeah. So any questions, I will just, house is open. If there's any doubt, someone else, anything related to this course, you're open to ask. What do you think that, what is your perception of current affairs preparation till now? What you've been told, can you just tell me? Is it the way we discussed, or is it there is some variation? How you've come out when you started preparing? I hope this lecture had a little, could direct you, make more sense with what is really required And is there any gap of what you've been thinking? Right. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Right. Yes, exactly. And I tell you, there was this question I still remember 2014 mains I had written. The previous day, Formula One race happened in India, in Gautam Budh Nagar. The next day in mains, the question on Formula One in India, and its question came. So don't think that okay, paper ban gaya hoga. Yeah, you might not know that what you've read the previous day, you can use it in your mains answer writing very nicely. And when there is up-to-date information reflected in your paper, it is highly appreciated. That is why this is not a closed course. This is an open course. It'll keep on running. And when you feel, okay, I've completed, I'll rejoin for 6 months or like this, that will help for mains. Then eventually after 1 year, our main target right now is you all clear pre. Of course, it is pre-come mains. As I told you, there is no separate strategy. But there will be one more course started eventually. That was a main guidance program dedicated towards mains answer writing, how to improve your scores in GS 1, 2, 3, 4 as well. Right now, it is the current affair Key News Plus program, where holistically current affairs will be discussed topic wise with the backgrounders to its current contemporary issues to how the questions may be asked by UPSC in such topics. That also, how UPSC might interpret it. Say it is for both. As I told you, the content which will be provided would be equally helpful for pre and mains. Today, don't isolate pre and mains. As I told you, it used to be a purely objective paper with facts. Today is an objective paper. It is subjective nature paper wrapped in objective, format. So I hope the class was fruitful. I'm sitting here after this session. I'll be in the office or I'll be sitting here. If personally you would have any doubts, I'm here to take your queries. If you have anything, you're most welcome. Students who are online attending it, the contact has been given on the newspaper ad as well as online. Can call me directly for any query as well. So the students right now in the classroom can directly come to me right now if they have any personal query regarding the course, and I'll be happy to discuss it with you. Right then, thank you so much for attending, and I hope you stay seated. I'm sure there are still some doubts and you want to personally talk to me. I'm most welcome to take up. Thank you once again. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Okay.